Hey,
Oh, hey, girl.
you look so cute.
Listen, I showered for you.
I I'm here for it.
I gave you some mascara, as my mom says. Always wear mascara.
Yes,
And a
I love
fierce
it.
lip gloss.
I love it. I love the yellow. You look super cute. How are you
Oh,
doing
you
today?
do.
How are you doing today? I always love your haircut. So cute.
Oh, you know what? Thank you so much, because this quarantine has got me. You know what's, it's short haircuts are hard. They're good when you get them done, but during
Right.
a quarantine,
Ooh, but
don't
you're
look at the back.
looking.
Don't look at the back.
Okay. We're not looking at the back. Okay. So thank you so much, first of all, for talking to us today.
Thanks for having me. Are you kidding me?
Of course. First of all, we love you on American Housewife, Angela,
Thank you.
Miss Hip, lawyer who tells it like it is.
Always.
But let me ask you this: would you parent the way Angela parents?
Hell no. Are you kidding me?
Angela's
Like
a
there are
pretty
times
parent.
when we're in like the writer's room, like reading the script, that I have to be like, calm down, this is not you, this is Angela, because like she says and does things like, I just give my kids hugs. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yes,
My
she
mom's
is.
hug was throwing a brush at my forehead.
Hello. Growing up black, right?
Growing up black, like
Yes.
I was like, oh, I have to go do the opposite of what you would do.
Hello. But okay, so Carly, you actually started on Broadway.
Yeah.
Right? You starred in over 8 shows. Tell us a little bit about how
Oh my God, I love.
from Broadway to now being on TV. You were in Chicago,
I
Pippin.
was.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, theater is my heart and my home, because growing up, you know, we didn't get to see a lot of theater. I didn't grow up that way. I actually never saw a Broadway show until I was in high school, but I would rent VHS tapes from the public library that had like Lena Horne and Stormy Weather and Singing in the Rain. And so I equated that to, that's what they did then.
Right.
Isn't that cool? And then by middle school, where, you know, you start to do school plays and stuff, I was like, oh, wait,
Yeah.
we still do this in real life. And then by high school, I was like, I could get paid for this. And so I did some research, and I was like, oh, this is how you go about it. And theater has always been my passion. So I steered that way first and ended up in New York. And thank God, because there is nothing like doing live theater, and there's nothing like being on a Broadway stage. Like for the rest of my life, there will be nothing like that. And it teaches you discipline. It teaches you all the elements. It's like, as a dancer, your basis is ballet.
Right.
I personally feel like as an actor, if your base is theater, you know everything you need to know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So learning all of that from choreography as a dancer, from the lines, like I can memorize a whole script overnight if I have to. I've had to before.
Right.
I don't recommend that, but I've had to. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so transitioning from doing Broadway and 8 shows a week and 2 shows a day and 1 day off and no vacations, coming to LA to a TV show where they're like, oh yeah, we don't film on the weekends. I initially was like, what does that mean?
How do I do that?
I was like, I can have brunch. So,
Right.
you know, and the lines, and then there's the cut and the action, and learning those sequences where it's like, oh, you know, we're not doing this all full way through. It was a learning curve, but not in a negative way. It was a learning switch up, if you will.
Right. Right.
But taking everything from theater, everything they threw at me, I was like, yeah, sure, piece of cake.
Do you feel like it prepared you in a way for TV, being on Broadway?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, you know, on stage you get one shot, as Eminem says,
Yeah.
and you don't get a do-over. So my mentality always is, this is the take.
Right.
And it even took me, like, we're ending season 4 now, going into season 5. So it's like, it took me still 4 seasons to be like, wait, I'm full out from the whole time, right?
Right. I mean, but you're perfect. Your comedic timing is bomb.
I love you.
No, love you. We all do. And then also, Carly, so when you auditioned for this role, you were on Broadway.
Baby.
Like running from, you know, show to show. And I think I remember you saying that they asked you, do you want to do it over? And you was like, I don't have time. I love that about you, because you were committed to what you were already doing, although you were auditioning. Did you feel nervous at all that you would get the role, or did you just kind of go on about
You know what?
business?
Another thing Broadway and auditioning for live theater taught me is that, for me, and it takes a long time to get there, for everyone's different, but I audition, I do what I do. This is what I have to offer that no one else can.
Right.
You know, and then if you want me, great. If not, I still got to go do 800 other auditions and this job tonight, or this show tonight, or this gig.
Right.
So I wasn't nervous at the time because I didn't know anything about it other than it was an audition and I had an 8 p.m. opening night and I had to get the A train, which helped me mentally too because I had rehearsed all day for 6 hours. I ran to this audition. I was focused. I lasered in, did it, and then was like, I can't stress or be nervous because now I have to go do a show. So that definitely helped me.
And also you got to bring some of your Broadway chops too.
Yeah.
American Housewife last season, season 3 at the finale episode. How was that? Like,
I mean,
was that your idea? Or
well, they know, obviously know my background, and they also know that Katie went to Carnegie Mellon and that Meg sings and little Julia sings. So they toyed with it at season 1, being like, we're going to do a musical episode. And we were like, sure. And then it came and we were like, wait, you serious? And it could not have been better because the choreographer was my friend Ashley, who choreographed me in Ghost on Broadway. Justin Paul and Glenn Slater wrote the music. Justin and I've known in New York forever. We all like got to New York at the same time.
Right.
And then the director was awesome. They called in all these dancers that were like, I fangirled over because some of them are from So You Think You Can Dance. And I was like,
oh gosh.
But it was nice to be able to like, flex a little bit and remind myself mentally, like forget everyone else, remind myself what I do and like, oh yeah,
right.
This is fun.
This is who you are. This was your first series regular role and your first acting credit, right?
On TV.
On TV, yes.
Yeah.
Is that right? Is that correct?
Yeah, I was like, is it? Yes, it is.
Okay. Making sure. So was there any struggles or challenges that you faced, being that this was your first like time on TV? Yes.
You know what? I want to say nothing out of the ordinary besides auditioning and trying to get the gig and learning, everyone's work ethics and how you guys mesh together. But like I had been training again for this forever. Outside of doing 8 shows a week, I also trained with my teacher in New York, Bob Krakauer, once a week at least for specifically TV and film. So for me, it was like, oh no, this is what all the preparation was for. Didn't know when it was going to happen, and I was probably constantly like, can it be today? But I had trained for this moment. So it was, for me, it was nice for myself to acknowledge the work that I had done and to go, okay, this is just your confidence boost of keep doing the work and keep your focus, as my dad always says, and then the stuff will come. You do what you're supposed to do and everything else will come. It may not be in your time. Clearly, it's in none of our time because we always want it faster. But it will always come. You just gotta be prepared and stay focused.
I love that piece of advice. I feel like this season we're finally seeing you, for the first 3 seasons you were going through the divorce and just navigating, but I feel like this season you are dating and we're seeing you in the office setting.
Yeah, I know. She comes from behind the table.
Yeah, we see. Will we get more of that from Angela? Because I feel like that's important to show you in that dynamic.
Light. Baby, I feel like it's important too. Yes. But I don't have control over things. No, I'd like to think, yes, we're going to see more of that, but it's harder doing a half-hour sitcom than it is an hour-long drama. So you have a certain amount of time to squeeze all these characters in. And so they try to like sprinkle it in. And then Corona happened. But we shot our whole season with the exception of like a little bit of the last episode. And so, yeah, you get to see Angela, we'll say sprinkled throughout. She comes from behind the desk. She has her lawyer hat on. Right. I don't know if you've noticed, like this season, she started to dress more like, because even I, as Carly, was always like, what does Angela do? She always in like some fierce jeans and a t-shirt. But I know she's a lawyer. So now like she's on her lawyer tip, like I don't have games. I have a fierce suit on. I just came from court. And there's one episode where she's like, well, you guys just asked me how my case is. So I like that you get to see these levels of like, she's your friend, she'll tell it like it is. And she's like, chill, but she's like this because she works her butt off.
Right. And also Angela is a lesbian. She's a lesbian. So do you feel like or I'll say this, what has been the response from people, from viewers,
playing a lesbian on TV
or in person about your representation?
You know what? Let's see. I was never nervous about it until about 2 seasons in, when I was just like, oh wait, should I be nervous about it? I mean, I don't know. And I never was, because the feedback that I kept getting was so positive, and from, you know, my friends that are actual lesbians were like, it's so nice to see you on TV playing this role, because I mean, I'd like to think my mindset was always, okay, I'm not going on TV to play a lesbian. I'm going on TV to play Angela, who happens to be a Black woman in Westport, Connecticut, single mom, going through divorce, who also dates women. Like, that is not her, it's a part of her. So I think you get in trouble if I went on and tried to play a caricature of what a lesbian is. What is that? Right. That's offensive is what it is. So I just tried to play her as human and as a relatable character, and the feedback has been heartwarming, honestly, because, you know, so luckily I have friends that would tell me, ma'am. So I mean, I think I'm doing good. You have. I mean, I'm not a member of the community, but I have friends and family that are. So I feel like you represent it in a way where it's not forceful. It's just a natural. It's just a part of who you are. Right. Yeah. And it comes up just like if someone's asked me who I'm dating as Carly, I'm like, oh, let's talk about he, X, Y, and Z. And on TV, Angela's like, business. Oh, you want to know who I'm dating? Oh, she is amazing. She is blah, 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 blah. It's not like the defining, you know, characteristic of her. Right. What types of roles are you drawn to? So besides this, I know you're in Curb Your Enthusiasm, and you're on Netflix Insatiable. Yeah, Insatiable. What type of roles are you drawn to? I'm really drawn to, this is probably going to sound cliche, but I'm drawn to strong, fierce women. Yes. And that's not to say that they're ball busters and they're all constantly like, you know, telling it like it is, because strong, fierce women like myself, like yourself, we also have varying levels and degrees and layers. And I like that. And a lot of things that are coming out now, like especially the Big Little Lies, the Little Fires Everywhere, that I'm really into. You see these strong, fierce women, but you get to peel back the layers a little bit. And I'm really drawn to those, you know, hour-long dramas or hour-long episodics that you get to meet her and have your essential, you know, your initial perception of her, and then watch as the season goes on, the layers fold in, and you're like, oh, okay, that's what I love to do. Okay, and then you get to understand the character more, right? Yeah. Because people don't really know that why they're that way until you peel back those layers. Yeah, and I always think that the characters like that you fall in love with, that you're like, oh, she's fierce and strong. You don't know this consciously, but you end up falling in love with them because of the reasons why they have to be fierce and strong. You know what I mean? Exactly. And so as an actress, you get to play all of that and have that, knowing that first before anyone. And so go, okay, how am I going to play this scene knowing what I know without them knowing it? Exactly. I love that. I love that. My favorite part of the show is second breakfast. I mean, look, I mean, because we can all relate, especially women, like, especially now with quarantine, we're ready for second breakfast, okay? Second breakfast, give me a Zoom, give me a FaceTime. I'm ready, okay? Why do you think that part of the show is so important? Because I feel like that's the moment when when you girls are able to just like, okay, be yourself. Talk, be yourself, let it all down and say, oh, I'm a mess, and you guys give your opinions or whatever. Yeah. Why is that so important to show on your show? I think it's so important because, like you just said, we as women, I mean, men do this too, but women just happen to do it more. Right. It's something that we do all the time. You and I probably do it more on a Saturday at brunch or a Sunday at brunch, but with these working moms and having kids and trying to integrate it, their brunch has become every day of the week, not the weekends. So I think it's important because it allows us as our characters to be relatable, because if we didn't have a moment to sit down and share and commiserate or do whatever, then you wouldn't be real girlfriends, because that's what we do. You know what I mean? I agree totally. And that's when all the dish comes out in real life too. It does. That's when everything comes out and you're just like, okay, are you gonna cry, you're gonna laugh, it just all comes out. Yeah. Speaking of second breakfast and cooking, yes, you have a cooking series that I'm obsessed with. Cooking with the look. I love you. When did you start? When did you learn how to cook, first of all? Listen, I was trying to figure that out because somebody asked me that yesterday. My mom bakes. She loves to bake, so I learned all of that from her. But growing up, I really was interested in cooking. And my mom was a single mom for a while, so she was always busy. And then as we got older, she'd be like, okay, here's some hamburger meat in the fridge. You gotta make you and brother hamburgers. Now at the time, they was probably hockey pucks, but I learned and I watched Food Network starting in like high school all through college, like it was cartoons, because I would turn it on and be on all day, and I would just be like, oh, I found it interesting, the chopping, the ingredients, the putting together a recipe. And so I would consciously and unconsciously learn the methods and experiment with recipes and go, okay, well, I don't think this is gross, but it's not how I would make it. And then start going little by little, how would I make it? And then go, okay, well, I can make up my own thing now. And so now as an adult, I do it all the time. I love entertaining for people. I love cooking Thanksgiving dinners for a huge party and things like that. So, you know, with the quarantine.
You're a whole chef. A whole chef.
I love you.
You know what I mean? I was like, oh my God, can I get lessons?
My friend was like, I didn't know you could freeze onions. And I was like, baby.
Peanut butter. What the heck? And then the pan-fried meatloaf.
The personal pan meatloaves, the turkey meatloaves.
And the donuts with Grains biscuits. That was like,
the donuts are the devil, because I had a huge thing of biscuits and I ate all the donuts. And the other day I used croissant dough instead of biscuit dough and made pretzels in the air fryer. I can't keep doing it. Quarantine needs to end soon because I'm going to be quarantined.
What's your favorite dish to cook in quarantine?
I mean, luckily, knock on wood, all of them have been amazing. Like my mom the other day was like, well, how do you know you're going to try them before you do? I was like, it's a pandemic. I don't have extra supplies to be doing a test kitchen for cooking with Carly. So what you see is I cook everything live. So if I don't like something, this face ain't gonna hide it. It's gonna be like, don't make that. So I've enjoyed cooking all of it, but one of my favorites of all times is my Greek turkey burger. I started doing it in New York, the loaded Greek turkey burger, and during quarantine, I had some sauteed kale that I put in. I'm like, this is gonna be forever. They're so good. I love biting into a juicy turkey burger that's not dry with the feta and all the spices in there.
What do you want to have a show? I feel like you need to be on the Food Network with this stuff. I mean,
I would love to have my own show. I mean, I would love to host. I would also love to cook, you know, and do, but I would love to do what I do with Cooking with Carly and have it be accessible meals, because not that all the other recipes, it's not that all the other recipes aren't accessible, but when you see something where you're like, okay, I can make this, and I know they have this at Trader Joe's, they have this at Ralph's, this is already made, but I only have to make this part. You know, there was a show on Food Network called Semi Homemade. I was obsessed with that show because I was like, oh, this is like how my brain works. I'm like, I have a can of biscuits, what do I do with it, and all of these ingredients.
Oh my gosh. I'm obsessed with your cooking, so I need a lesson if you can.
Okay.
I think everybody would benefit from your cooking skills.
I love you.
Yes. So moving on, speaking of your mom, Miss Valencia.
Yes, Miss Valencia.
Miss Valencia, hi mom, if she's watching. In the midst of starring on this hit show, you got the news that your mom had stage 3 inflammatory cancer. In 2018, breast cancer, yes. How did that news affect you, and what was your initial reaction to it?
I mean, my initial reaction, I was at the Grove with my best friend waiting to hear the news, and I was like, she was like, where are you at? I'm gonna come meet you. I was like, I'm at the Grove. We're in the valley. What are you talking about? Okay, come meet me. And I didn't think of it, and then when she got there, I was like, something's up, because my mom had called her and told her to come meet me wherever I was at. And so initially I in my mind and my heart, I knew, because she had come to visit a month before, and I felt the lump and I saw where it had spread that she thought was a rash. And in my head, I was like, that's not no rash. So I kind of knew, but to hear her say it, I you know, of course I lost it. And and then immediately was like, okay, what's the plan? What do we do? Because my brain functions better that way when it's like, I'm not going to sit and wallow. I need to know what the plan is. And how do we do this? And so from that moment on, I just kicked in a high drive of like, okay, 18 weeks of chemo, then the surgery, put it in my calendar. I immediately told all of American Housewife, like, this is what's going on. That's my priority. I'm going to be 150 million% at my job, but then I'm piecing out. I don't have extra to give, because, you know, and they were completely understanding. But, you know, it was hard to watch her go through that. Because it's another one of those things where you're like, oh, I didn't think this would happen to me. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
quarantined. And my stepmom also has breast cancer. So I also mentally I knew a lot of what was about to happen and how, I mean, everyone's strain is different, but
Right.
my stepmom has breast cancer as well. And so I knew a lot about her bouts and what she went through, and I had her to go to if I needed to. So yeah, it was rough, and it was rough to do that while filming and then flying from LA to Maryland every like 2.5 weeks to be with her with chemo, and then flying back in time to film. But you know, you do what you got to do because that was the plan. And so that actually got me through all of her treatments and surgery of like, this is the plan. This is what we do.
Right. And you all are using your voices to bring awareness. You both are the faces of the Breast Cancer Research Foundation. And the campaign is running through June. Is that right? Yeah,
it's running through June. For research is the reason is their slogan for that.
And you're an ambassador as well. Speak to us about why organizations like the Breast Cancer Research Foundation are important.
I mean, they reached out to me initially because I was posting about my mom, you know, probably something goofy, and then the other half of like asking for prayers, and I didn't know much about them. I just knew the name and what they did, so to speak. And once they sent the information and really went into detail about how they're the one organization where all of their funds go to the researchers and the people coming up with treatments and cures and medicine, it clicked and it made sense. And I also thought it was more so important for my mom when they asked us to take part and to do their campaign, which involved going to New York and doing a photo shoot and interview that they videoed and would play, because you don't go through something like this without it affecting you here and here.
Right.
And if you're lucky, you deal with it. But if you're normal, you don't deal with everything, because that's not how we don't function that way as humans all the time.
Right.
And so I initially was like, I know this is going to be important for her because she's talked about it with me, but to like say things out loud and to say them to strangers or to be informative is a whole nother level of accepting and understanding for yourself.
Right.
And so, you know, I don't know if I ever even told her that, but I was like, yeah, we'll do it. Because and she was like, well, I don't know. I was like, okay, well, think about it. You're doing it.
Yeah.
She's like, if you think I should, and I was like, you decide. But also I was like,
right. And Carly, why is it important for women to advocate for their health? I mean, because you said that you noticed that on your mom's breast prior to
baby,
a lot of women
a year ago. I mean, not a year ago, 2 years ago now, but a year before she was diagnosed.
Right.
She went to the doctor and said, I have a lump. And the doctor was like, oh yeah, that's a lump. Hello? You're supposed to biopsy it.
Right.
So part of the reason I teamed up with BCRF is because it's hugely important as women, as brown women in this country, but also as women throughout the trajectory and the history of America. You know your body, especially a female body.
Yeah.
It's nice that you have doctors that are trained in it. Love it. But you know your body.
Right.
So if you're waking up and you're like, something's off on the inside, but I don't know how to describe it, that means something's off.
Right.
You pray that it's not huge, but that means something's going on. So I always want to stress when it comes to BCRF and everything, if you see, like in New York, you see something, say something. If you feel a lump and you go to the doctor and they feel it too, then your next step is to go, what do we do? How, do I need a biopsy? And a lot of people don't know the terminology or know what to ask for, but it is okay to ask for something else. It is also okay to get a second opinion if you don't feel like you're being heard. And I don't think we have that knowledge or support as women to go without feeling bad of like, okay, thank you for that, but I'm going to go ask this person. It is okay to do that.
Right. Because oftentimes you'll feel like, am I asking for too much? Am I being too aggressive? So,
or I don't want to be a bother, or I don't want to, she said it's nothing. And like, you know, my mom wanted to trust her doctor and the doctor was like, oh, okay.
Right.
You gotta get another opinion. And, you know, you don't always want to do that, but I feel like also in this day and age, if we learned nothing from what we're going through now with Corona,
yes,
if you feel off, you're off.
Right.
If you go, okay, I know she said it was this, but I still feel weird. I need to ask her again or ask someone else. Do it.
High five, sister.
Boop.
Boop. And mom is doing fine, right?
Mom is great. She's home. She healed from her surgery, all her treatments, radiation, chemo. She had a little scare in October because they removed a piece of skin from the double mastectomy, and it didn't heal correctly and caused an infection. Ended up in the hospital, but she is healed, doing well, healthy, walking 4 miles a day in the Ronta. So yeah,
stay at home, mama.
I know. I'm like, stay your butt at home.
Okay. What projects do you have coming up after quarantine? You need to have a cooking show coming up. That's what you need to do.
I have my Cooking with Carly.
Cooking with Carly. Get on TV though.
I know. I would love to. I actually would love. I know what I want to do now from this being in my house alone for 35 plus days. I want to do a cookbook with all of the quarantine recipes because by the end of this, I'll have 30 at least.
Totally see that.
I don't even know how many I have now. It's hard to answer that question because everything I had coming up got canceled because of Corona. So, you know, I had 2 gigs in New York and one at Kennedy Center, and I was going to do a Christmas album while I was in New York because my band and my fam is there, but I'm not in New York anymore. So I'm going to try to, you know, I'm positive. It is what it is. I'm not dwelling on what happened, but I'm just going to, you know, focus on maybe like writing the actual recipes down that I thought of in my head. So at least that's one step so that when it comes to, you know, the fall and I have an opportunity, I will have at least my stuff together. So I can work towards that now. And then when other jobs come up or if the ones that I lost come back, then I can be like, okay, we're here. But, you know.
Write those recipes because I need them.
You're like, because I need the donuts.
I need them. Carly, thank you so much for talking to us. Before we go, the show has a new time slot on Wednesdays.
Wednesdays at 9 p.m. We took that Modern Family slot.
Is that going to be through the finale?
Yeah. Okay. So from here on out, we'll be in that time slot. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. So you guys make sure you watch next week. It'll be a new episode, right? Because Wednesday, we just
yeah.
So you guys make sure you watch and check out your Instagram for recipes.
Y'all are reviews. Get some recipes. I do it about like twice a week, but when I'm not doing that, I'm being a goofball or doing face masks.
We love you, Carly.
I love you so much. Thank you.
Tell your mom I said hello and all the blessings to you both.
I will. Thank you. You too.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.
See you later.